Nelson, my first question was, I know that people here maybe have not seen your previous film, but I profit to say that it will be screened here next in 5th of December in St. George. But so my question is, I think this film, this one, is more personal. Yeah. So can you tell us why I say that, and what was the first idea to make this film?
Yes. So, well, first of all, it's going to be the first film after being absent in my country. So it's the first film that I going to shoot in the Dominican Republic. And so it was very complicated for me to start a dialogue with my own country and how am I going to portray this story. And so it was a long process of this. Villamella is the community that I'm working with, that I know since I was a kid, and this way of practicing Catholicism, this syncretic Catholicism. And so I was gonna represent this community that is quite invisible in the society, even though this is how most of the time Catholicism will be practiced. And how am I going to work with non-actors and not coming from fiction, because I was making more non-fictional film, and it was the first time I was gonna deal with the drama and like with the narrative line. And so I had to be involved in this in a very deep way, and it took me a long time to prepare the community and to make them understand what are we trying to do, but also for me to listen how they also want to be represented. And so this is my personal connection, this whole process that I was doing while I was studying abroad and coming every summer and prepare like the stories. And the story itself is not very personal, because I don't come from the high class society, but at the same time I come from the small middle class, and in a country like me, even we are middle class, we have certain type of privilege, and so it was for me to deal with this and be respectful. And somehow, so the first thing that the first struggle that I had was, normally people will think that this is, en Haití es voodoo, en Cuba es orilla, en Brasil candomblé. For the black communities, for black countries or mulatto countries that we are, the idea of Africa will be a process that it's an intellectual process. To put Africa as an imaginary, of the imaginary of the society. So but this is a very intellectual process, and I cannot go and try to represent this, telling them what they are. So the first thing that I had to do is like treat them as or Catholicism, and this is in the way. So this is the first thing that I learned. It's not like I'm doing like some Afro-Caribbean culture. So it's like, no, for them, Africa doesn't exist in that sense. This is or Catholicism, and the difference between the Catholicism with the church and a priest will be a social class difference. This is how the rich people practice Catholicism. This is how we practice Catholicism. So this is the first thing that I learned, and from that I start, dialoguing with something that is happening after, United States occupied different countries in Central America and the Caribbean. In the Dominican Republic is the biggest occupation that the U.S. has. So they, in any empire, brings their churches in the way that they're going to communicate their, you know, their beliefs on the idea of the world is going to be through the Protestant church. And this conflict between these churches, this within Christianity, it is something that it is intrinsic in the idiosyncratic of the Dominican Republic in all levels, from middle, high class, and the popular classes. So for some reason, even though there was a lot of academic texts like through ethnography or anthropology, I needed to build this knowledge through orality somehow.
And also, it's very physical and sensorial. It's very, when you say it's not intellectual, it's very concrete.
Yes.
Because you really dive into it. I mean, as an audience, you really feel it. No, it's like it's a very strong experience with all your sense.
Yes.
Even for the spectator, you share what you. I don't know how the shooting was, but. Tell us a little bit about how the shooting
Well, the shooting, I mean, you can see that there's like some fictional scenes, like proper scenes, you know, with cut and action. You know, there's lights and all the paraphernalia of cinema. And then there is this type of documentary that we could say, but it's not. So what I organized the shooting was very hard for the people working with me, because they were coming from more narrative films, and some of them that were not from the Dominican Republic, and they were not coming from documentary. They were not like having this.
DOP is Austrian, no?
Yeah. He started with me in Buenos Aires, so. So I organized the shooting plan, so I had to create a special shooting plan for this. You know, for me it was unethical to go to a real novena and shoot them and use this material. So because we had money for the first time in my life, I had some money to make this film. And so what we did was a recreation, but this recreation had to respect the time. You know, I cannot like say, okay, cut in the middle of a song or something. So what basically I designed was that because I know the structure of La Novena pretty well, we divided in 5 days. And so they are divided in 5 mysteries, 5 misterios. These 5 mysteries will be like the first step, second step, and they're like they work as a sequence itself. So it repeats all the time. So what I did is in these 5 days, they are approximately 2 or 3 hours. So we put a lot of microphones in those houses. I already know that women are in the room, in the crying room, and the men are in front of the altar, and they always go into the room of the women, because the problem there is because they open the door of the death. They cannot. This is this dark area. So the most scary part is that some dead can possess one of these people, because it can hurt the person and the place, because they're angry souls, right? So that's why they run all the time to stop the possession. That's what is happening in the film. That's what they're doing all the time. Because this is their I mean, it's these sons have been there from all their life, from generation. It was easy for Juberbi and all these people to connect with, and in the moment that the drums start, it was easy to connect with their own deads. So in that sense, it becomes a documentary, but it's a documentary that it's within a fiction film. And this is what we were trying to do. And I was alone in the camera because I know them. And so we always were trying to switch to things. And when switched to documentaries was basically me and the camera and the sound guy, and everybody needed to leave the shooting.
And Vicente in the middle of all that.
And Vicente in the middle of that. So because we prepare I hate when I see it in films, like when they're mixing professional actors and non-actors, and you see, okay, this is the professional actor and this is we worked very exhaustivamente for 3 months, and we kept together all the time, so trying to kill the drama of the actors, these are the tools that they have to work, and to bring the non-actors, but to bring the non-actors to the fiction, it was very easy because we are a very performatic society. So for Juberbi, for example, Juberbi is Patria, the woman that had the fight in the river. She never understood that we were making a film. She never understood. So from till now, she still thinks that Vicente is Alberto, and she still thinks what they said. No, this guy doesn't do nothing. I'm like, Juberbi, but he's an actor. It was like, So it's like it was.
She's a very good actress.
No, she's a great actress. I mean, but at the same time, those are these ideas, and I needed to confront those ideas. I mean, La Pastora and the evangelical church, this is what she thinks about Los Misterios. And so it was this confrontation by two system of colonization and somehow. And the fight of God, both coming from outside, and they needed to fight, they needed to have the confrontation. And how are going to build or death is a problem these days in the society. It doesn't matter if in the popular class, also in other classes too.
Yes, please.
In the beginning, when you said that you had to work with the community and explain to them what you were trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
So my question is, what were you trying to do?
What I was trying to do? No, it was I was trying to confront this. I mean, if I need to talk about my country, I mean, like a lot of countries will have, you have literature about, like, the country builds its own rhetoric through their intellectuals, through the scientists, social scientists, and all of these things, right? But when you come from a country that it was pure orality all the time, so this orality becomes the source of how we are creating history and how we're creating collective imaginary as a society. I needed to go to places, to these two institutions that are what produces the ethics or the morals or the values of what what we could think about the idea of world that we could have, no? So basically, this is the main reasons that I wanted to put in conflict these two ideas of production of morality or production of knowledge in my country. So it was coming from a very personal issue, a concern that I have as a Dominican. As a Dominican, that I need to talk to my country, and I not necessarily have the tools to talk about it. Because I went to universities, I went to school, it's easy to talk about when people already written about, so it was very hard for me to start a dialogue, a conversation with my own culture, and yeah. So this is the first step. So you said, what is my first idea? That was my first idea. And I have, in my films before, I also talk about violence, but I'm very aware of how violence in third world countries, which I don't like to say this term, but it's easy for me to have a conversation right now. From Latin American cinema, it's easy to put violence as a center of signification of our societies, and it is true at the same time, but it's also as an exploitation. So I from Santa Teresa to Cocote, and from the next film that I want to do, I need to talk about violence because it's intrinsic to our history. But I need to find a way not to sell this as a product of violence. The violence exists, but at the same time, I wanted it to, in this case, I wanted it to do how is built in these two systems, and that's what is happening. Taking a character as a hypothesis that it will navigate through this world, you know. He's losing. Oh, he's gonna lose anyway, you know, because if he don't kill, he loses his family, the position of his family. But if he, but accepting the family is also to commit the crime, and that's why sometimes I think this is a Western, because you know this idea of Western, you have to get out of justice to make justice somehow, which is a problem when there's no. When we have the type of police that we have, the type of politicians that we have, you know, sometimes this justice outside of justice are sometimes the only way that people find to be able to keep living, you know.
So, just to understand, so your objective with this film was to put in opposition these two aspects of Dominican society, this more popular syncretism,
Yes.
and then this evangelical side.
Yeah, the Protestant church. Yes. Yes. And analyze violence through this two system of production. Yes. Yes, please.
Could you maybe explain a little bit better the title of the movie?
Oh no, it's very easy. Cocote is neck. It's neck in the slang of Dominicans.
Yes, I know that.
Yeah.
So maybe a little bit elaborate how you came to the title, because
Oh no, it's because they cut the neck of someone, and the neck, the cocote.
so it's
Let me.
line direct.
Yes, but cocote at the same time in the Dominican Republic, when you say this word, cocote, because cocote es cogote, pescuezo, which means the neck of an animal, not to a human being. So when you say cocote, for cocote to refer to a human being in the Dominican Republic, there's a tacit violence in that expression. So this person's gonna get hurt, it probably is gonna get killed. So in the moment you say cocote to refer to the neck of someone, it's tacit that there's some violence in that word. You like that better? Okay.
Okay. Is that okay? Well, thank you. Congratulations.
Yes.
And if you want to see Nelson's first film,
Yes, Santa
it's on
Teresa.
the 5th
Yes, in South Georgia.
in Saint George, 5th of December.
Yes.
Thank
Okay.
you very much.
Thank you.